Friends, did you know that over 60% of your first-time clients are never coming back to your business again? They are going to your competition. That is so painful, and it doesn't have to be that way. That's where Maya comes in. Maya is the ultimate marketing software for the beauty and wellness industry. We have a proprietary funnel utilizing special algorithms to help connect the right consumers with the right providers at your business. So what does this mean? This means Maya helps you get higher spending clients you love to work with who stay the long haul. If you want to increase your revenue, increase your client count, increase your average ticket, and increase your new client retention, then you need Maya. Go to the link in our show notes to get your demo of Maya set up. Or go to joinmaya, that's MYA.com, joinmaya.com, and see why over 500,000 consumers have trusted Maya and the businesses that we work with to find their perfect beauty and wellness pro. We have your back, we always will, and we promise you will love Maya. Well, hello, and Merry Christmas week, everybody. In true historical fashion, I will sing a little piece of a little Christmas song for you today. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the ones I used to know, where the treetops glisten and children listen to hear sleigh bells in the snow. Oh, how nice it would be if children actually listened. I'm just kidding. Well, it is a white Christmas here. The day I am actually recording right now, it is dumping big, beautiful white flakes on us. It is gorgeous. It's terrible to drive or try to walk in, but it looks amazing and it does make for a really special holiday. So I hope that you are having an amazing week or look forward to your week ahead. Can you believe this is episode 571? This has been such a passion project for me. The podcast has always come easy because I love learning from others. I love networking. And today I also am going to share with you. I love to share experiences, things that I've learned, successes that I've had either personally or with our companies. And I think today is going to be a really, really awesome episode for you to just take a lot and be able to apply it to your own life. So, this is what you can take into 2025. So, first thing I want to do is start with my word of the year. My word of the year. Have you ever done this, by the way? Because this is the first time I've done this. I've seen people choose words of the year. I think like subconsciously in 2024, I chose the word simplify. I think that was a huge intention that I shared across the board, but I didn't necessarily find the word in a graphic and print it out and tell people and put it up in front of me. And I did that this for this coming year. So my word for 2025 is focus. Focus. So, what is vying for your attention? Are you in a frame of mind to create a filter that eliminates the things that take away your focus from your main objectives for the year? We're going to get into what those main objectives are going to be for you. But it kind of draws me to one of my favorite quotes I've ever heard, which is really a definition. It can be, it's not a formal definition, but it's my favorite definition of discipline. The word discipline means letting go of the good and the better for the best. And by having this word of focus, I say, look, these are my top 3 objectives. If this thing comes across my plate or in front of me and wants my attention, I need to filter it through. Does it pertain to these objectives? Have I prayed about it? How will this affect my family? So those are some of the things that I ask myself and will ask myself uh, as I go into 2025. And this is why I chose the word focus. So, really cool for you to think about what is going to be your word of the year. One of the big things that I take into every single year, I already have it done and ready, and it's actually up, is a vision board. So, a vision board takes your main objectives, kind of the vision you have for your life, and it turns it into pictures. So after I write down all the things that I want in, within my life category. So what's the vision for my life spiritually, financially, with my family, socially, with my career, physically, and even in the area of learning and development. Like I take those life categories and I create what is it that I want? And then I put those into pictures. And then I literally will find pictures. I'll print them all out in like the size of a 3 by 5. And then I will, put them all on a poster board. Like I do a kind of a craft project. I don't do this digitally because digitally I do this kinesthetically because it sticks and I want something actually tangible in my hand, something physical that I put up on the wall and see in front of me. So I print out my pictures, I put it all together, and then it's up in my closet. Now, the reason I chose my closet is because it's somewhere that I go every single day, but it's also somewhere private. So if I have friends or family over to our home, it's not this thing that's, because it's kind of a vulnerable thing and maybe not for reasons that you think. Have you ever created a really, really big goal that you're like, I'm embarrassed that other people think I'm dreaming this big or that I have the audacity to think that this could be my life? Yeah, you kind of isn't it weird that we keep those things a secret? It is maybe kind of a shame. We shouldn't. But that is why I keep it private in my walk-in closet. Now, subconsciously, it affects my husband as well because he goes in there and he's seeing the things that I want, the things that I want for all of us, and that is in front of me. So things that can go on your vision board are going to be tied to your top goals for the year in those life categories. But it really is like for me, I put number one, my dream company outcomes. What is it that I want to see? And I put it in the present tense. Or because the brain is kind of shifty on us sometimes, I put it in like I'm in the process of throughout this year, this will happen. So it's not saying, wait a minute, you're not there yet. That's bull crap because your brain will call bull crap on you. So the way you kind of write it out, and not everything on your vision board has to be rated, but I do have my dream company outcomes on there written out in a very strategic way. Of course, I put images that shine a light on my dream life or lifestyle pertaining my kind of physique goals or my really athleticism capabilities. What do I want to be capable of doing? It's kind of funny. I have had doing the splits. Like I don't know if anybody listening can do the splits. Good for you. I've seen every person, every shape and size be able to do the splits and I'm like, gosh, darn it. I want that. I want to be able to do that someday. I just feel like that'd be cool and so it's on there. Same with surfing. Like I've never officially gone surfing and I always believe like I never physically could. I do think I physically could at this point if somebody taught me correctly. And that is on my vision board, a picture of that. And of course, things for family trips. We've never taken the kids to Disney. And that's because I have a 7-year old, but then a 2-year old. And it's like, when do you take the 2-year old on your trip to Disney? Because that could be a thing. And my husband's funny because he's like, I took the kids to Costco. So I don't think you're ready for Disney. And I'm like, what a comparison. Cause he knows that I'm tend not to be a very patient person. So, I'm like, whatever, I'll pay whatever past price I need to not have to deal with the lines or whatever comes with it. I will figure it out. If somebody can help me figure out, we'll show up, we'll have a great time. But one of my favorite things on the vision board really ties into a book that I read. This is it did not make my top 5 of the year, but out of all the books I read in 2024, when I read the book Lead Your Family Like Jesus, this was the one thing, with every book I have that one thing that sticks out to you that will stay with you forever. That one thing for me was to create a purpose statement for your family. Now, we've created vision and mission statements for our companies. We've created our values. Oftentimes, we even create values for our own lives. But have you ever created a family purpose statement? So, gosh, we put together a list when Anson and I drove out of town to one of our favorite places to go, which is Door County, Wisconsin. It's kind of like Martha's Vineyard, but Lake Michigan instead of the ocean. It's so beautiful. And on our, okay, just this is so like me too. Like, let's make our road trip impactful. Like, instead of just sitting and having fun or zoning out to social media, I'm like, let's write down everything we believe in and everything we don't believe in. And we created our own family purpose statement. Now, it's very vulnerable for me to share, but I will. Our family purpose is to seek God's kingdom first, nurturing relationships with love and integrity, prioritizing health and joy, and stewarding our blessings while avoiding worldly distractions and false teachings. Now, that was kind of a compilation of everything we had accumulated in what we agree with, what we don't agree with, what we want, what we don't want. It was just this tons of list of prompted questions that helped us really fine tune into one long sentence what that purpose is for our family. And then it becomes a guiding light to help us with kind of, in your business, you have standards that you all agree to live by. And that helps us in our family as well. So I want to take you through how to set your own objectives for the year. Like, this is so fun. I did this exercise recently with a group of my mastermind members. And here's how it goes. So I want you to write down 10 goals that you want to accomplish in the next 12 months. So throughout 2025, what are 10 goals? And, with this exercise, it is encouraged to write it in the present tense, such as I have, I earn, I invest, I purchase, I achieve. Then pretend you have a magic wand and one of the 10 could come true for you in the next 24 hours. So choose one of the 10 that would have the biggest impact on your life and circle that one. So for most of you listening, if you're driving or if you're doing something else, you aren't sitting down right now to write all 10, but I bet you there were one to a few that just came to your mind. What is that top thing that just came to you instinctively? Take that one thing and then write that specific goal on a new sheet of paper. And that becomes your number one focus of 2025. Like, if this one thing happened, nothing else even matters. Like, this is the one thing, like, this will change everything. So from there, then you're going to create your SMART goals. So of course, SMART goals are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. Then you start writing this sentence out every single day. I think it's cool then to figure out, how does my vision board match up with this? What are visual images that kind of tie back to this one objective? Once you have that, though, this is really the key part of the exercise that most people don't go through. And it's to ask yourself the following question as it pertains to your one thing. What do you have to do to get what you want? What is getting in the way of what you want? What do you need to start doing and what needs to stop? That has been also really a guiding light into some of the decisions that we've pivoted on for 2025. Now, all of these ideas come from just my constant desire to learn. And I kind of mentioned a minute ago that many of us have values in our company, but I also went through an exercise of defining what my personal values are. And one of my top values personally is to be a lifelong learner. And how do I learn? And many of you do this too, because you're listening to this podcast, right? It's like listening to podcasts, reading books. That's a big one. And attending events, networking, meeting people. Like who you're around is as important as what you read or learn. So when it comes to reading books, I had a goal of reading 14 books in 2024. I ended up reading, or I'm sorry, I had a goal of reading 12, one a month. I ended up reading 14. Now, if you are counting the books of the Bible, it would probably be double that because I read in the Bible every day. But books, like I'm buying one off books, putting it, and I'll tell you this, some of them I do on Audible, maybe 20% of them I listen to, but 80% I like the physical book. I don't know about you, but I like to have the book in my hand. I like to underline it. Here's what I do to kind of double up on this exercise. If there's a book I really need to kind of think about and study, which one of them on my list is like that, I will listen to it on Audible on a higher speed while I read it. I'll do that on flights, by the way, all the time, and really get to dive in, hold the book, underline, be engaged. I love it. It's so fun. Okay, so here are my top 5 books for 2024. They were number one, the book Good to Great by Jim Collins. So this book really helped me identify and this is just like my one thing. So I won't take the time to say all my top takeaways from every book, but my one thing from this book was to ask myself as it pertains to our company, what are we going to be the very best in the world at? What are you going to be the very best in the world at? What is that for you? What is that for your business or businesses? For those of you who don't really know anything about me, you just know this is the voice you hear when you listen to this podcast. I am a business owner of 4 businesses. So I started 4 businesses all from scratch. Um, I am also a mother of 2, a wife, a follower of Jesus. There's a lot going on. And you'll hear a bit more about what I have going on, but I kind of would shy away in the past from saying like I'm a very high functioning, high performing person, because I never want to come off egotistical or prideful. But it is what it is. And that's just how I'm made. It's how I'm ingrained. And I love getting after it. I feel like I need and want a sense of purpose. But in the past, my purpose or sense of direction has just been kind of tossed whichever way the wind would blow. I would be easily distracted or easily swayed into something shiny over here that I could do and be a part of. So that's why my word of the year is focus. So good to great help me also focus in on what is that thing we are going to be the very best at in the world. The next top book for 2024 was called The Love Dare. Now, there's this really corny Christian movie, which I love all of them, where it's called Love Dare, or no, it's called Fireproof. And it's the struggle in this marriage and all that. And like they don't have a foundation of Jesus. The husband's told by his dad, look, every single day I want you to go through a challenge to do something loving and serve and care about your wife, and never tell her that you're doing this. Just do it and see what happens. And over the course of the movie, like hearts change and their marriage becomes incredible and they both commit their lives to the Lord. And like, it's not happily ever after, but it's a good start. You're right. Like they saved their marriage and they have a new foundation to their lives. And just, it's all about something different now. And, here's what's interesting. My husband chose to leave corporate America. He was a senior embedded electrical engineer. He was kind of a big deal at his company. He was doing awesome. A lot of people relied on him. It was shocking to them when he decided to exit and join me in the family businesses. Now, that takes guts. And for somebody who's very analytical and logical, it did not just happen overnight. This was like a year long conversation and decision for him. And really it came down to what kind of family dynamic we wanted, because he would help me kind of on the side with certain things that I was totally incapable of doing myself. And who paid the price? Well, it was once we started having kids, our son, I think I started Maya when he was born. And so I've just been grinding a lot, and he was just going by the wayside. It was like the daycare was pretty much raising him, which whole nother topic of why it's important where you choose the environments that our kids are in and what they're learning from, who they're learning from, what they're learning. But that was a kind of a moment for us, is like, can we have the lives of our dreams? And do you want to take the big leap and have courage and join me? That was a big deal. But when you work together with your significant other, sometimes your marriage can become transactional. Now, if you work together with somebody, you know what I mean. You know what I mean when I say that. And I thought to myself, like, I am getting way too like leader, like technically the CEO of the company, and he is, I don't want to say underneath me, but he's like on my team, and he checks in with me and I check in with him. I don't really check in with him. I kind of do, but I don't, right? Like I'm leading things, and as the visionary and the one who has to drive the company towards the future, like I hold him accountable to a lot, and it becomes a transactional even marriage outside of it. We even struggle with not talking about business or work when we're on dates. Do you have that where it's like you can't not talk about it? Well, first off, sometimes it's fun, so it's not always a bad thing. But I realized I need to be a better wife. Like I need to put, like, God was really changing my heart where it's like, look, Katie, you are a follower of Christ Jesus first. Then second is your husband. That is the most important relationship of your whole life. That's a covenant relationship. You are now one with this person. You're not separate people, you're one. So like this is the most important relationship outside of the relationship with me. And I was like, holy crap, I need to show up and really take that role as seriously as the role I take as the CEO of my company. So without him knowing, I read this book every day. It was really a great little devotional, maybe like 2 to 3 pages. And then it was the dare, the love dare. So every day I had to do something. It like dared me to go out of my way and do something special for him. I wrote him notes. I would get him something just out of nowhere, thinking about him. I would uh, go to him and say, look, here's an area I've realized I've really not been great. Like there was one day I said to him, I want you to know, I respect you. I respect your opinion. And if you really want me to do better in this particular area, I respect that and I want to listen and I want to do better. And man, he appreciated that. So at the very end, he had no idea that it was happening. And then he had asked me this random question and it was tied to the dare. And I said, well, okay, do you really want to know? I just finished this book like 2 weeks ago. Here's what I've been doing this whole time. It's really drawn us together in a really big way. And he is my best friend. And what a gift marriage is. He's my best friend, and I'm really glad that I went through that book. Gosh, I said I would only take like a little time to share a takeaway for each book, but okay, I'll go quicker. The next book is called Mindset. Okay, so this book is basically, I'm going to sum it up like this. Mindset is to get you in the right mindset that your growth potential isn't fixed. If you grew up thinking like, gosh, I'm like not good at math. I'm good at, writing, or I'm creative, but math, nope, terrible. Stop putting yourself in a box. Like the growth mindset approach says, I can actually become incredible at anything. And I might not be good at it day one or day 500, but I can get better at anything and I can work towards greatness in any area that I choose to focus on. And it's usually the people who, according to the book and all of the examples, who think they have natural quote unquote strengths in any area, who don't really rely on what it takes to get better. They don't work hard. They just think this is kind of my strength. So they don't actually try to master it further. Well, the minute something goes wrong, they lose all confidence. They tend to be that star athlete who we had all the hope in the world for, who ends up not really being that great after all. But then it's like the dark horse, that athlete who they didn't have much going for them. Okay, this is totally Michael Jordan, right? He didn't get in he like didn't make the team. What was that? Junior high or high school, then all of a sudden, or maybe it was like he didn't get into the college that he actually wanted. There were so many obstacles where he was kind of told like, you're not good enough. And then he turns out to work harder than everybody else. Like he outworked everybody times 10 and became the greatest of all time. So, anyway, amazing book. That's called Mindset. Some of you know about the book Unreasonable Hospitality. Okay. This book, the one takeaway, let me just start with this. Do you feel like we've swung the pendulum the opposite direction? We used to bend over backwards to work whenever our clients did not work, right? Our schedules used to be available during the peak times that our clients were available. And that meant that we missed out on certain things, because we had kind of had that same retail hours, schedule. That's just one example. There are many ways that we bent over backwards to do whatever it took to work with our clients. We didn't probably charge enough, of course, but then we swung the pendulum. And do you feel like we swung it so far the other direction that we've become a little too cool for school sometimes? Like we are like, you're going to do things this way because these are our policies. And we've like really missed the special part of making experiences personalized and custom. Now, some of you are listening, like, I go out of my way to make my clients feel special. Everything's custom. There's an experience to it. It's very personalized. And that's amazing. I think as a standard across our industry, I think we could all have a revisit to being unreasonably hospitable. How do we go above and beyond? Now, it doesn't mean that if somebody's abusing or not respecting our cancellation policy, that we're like unreasonably forgiving, because that's unreasonable. But it means going a little bit above and beyond in every way for your team, for your culture, and for your guests, not because you have to, because you get to, and because we're passionate about this industry. I just love it. It's so inspirational. It's well written. To me, out of all the books, it felt like I was watching a movie. I was like watching his life play out. It was such an easy read and it's so enjoyable. And then lastly, one of the books pertaining to health that I've really studied is Fast Like a Girl. Now, every female has a cycle, and even if you're perimenopausal or menopause, gone through menopause, we go through a hormonal cycle that's super unique. And with that comes different waves of hormones that really peak or lessen, that affect the way we eat and our energy levels and our personalities, right? Is like so wild. Well, learning to intermittently fast, or when to feast, when to not worry about fasting. But there's a reason to forgo food at certain points that help your body just naturally heal itself. There's cellular turnover, there's things that happen that make you healthier. And so I've really adopted understanding how to intermittent fast. There's times that I don't at all and don't worry about that because I need the carbohydrates for energy and whatnot. But that book has been a total eye opener and game changer for my life. So my plan for 2025 is actually to read less. I'm going to read less books because I want to dive in and study some of these books deeper and have, when you read a book and you're like, oh, that was great. You remember something, and then it kind of falls off to the wayside. And it's like, gosh, what if I actually really studied this book and applied it wholeheartedly to every aspect that it deserves to be applied? That's what I plan to do for 2025. So 3 books on my list. One of them is for fun, but I'm going to go back through Good to Great by Jim Collins. I'm going to start, well, I've already started the book 10X is Easier Than 2X by Dan Sullivan. Already the opener is life changing. I've underlined so much that I've had to like take out a notebook and write down, okay, out of everything I've underlined, what's the most important things. And then book by Mel Robbins, her new book that's coming out, it's called The Let Them Theory. And that just sounds cool. I feel like Martha Lynn, if you're listening, I believe you're the one that said you were reading that. And I was like, ooh, I like Mel Robbins. She's a podcaster that I'm into. There's certain topics I've really loved that she's done. I love her book, The 5 Second Rule. So that was my for fun book to choose. In addition to that, my pastor is mentoring me and taking me through more like a deeper, more theological study of the Bible. He's like, if you don't care about having credentials, commas after your name to say that you're officially gone through like a ministry schooling or whatnot, like my dad got his doctorate from the Dallas Theological Seminary. If I don't care about having a doctorate, he said, I can take you through the same, Bible school protocol, the curriculum essentially, so that you can dive way, way deeper into your walk and understanding. And I'm like, 100%. Like, if I feel like life comes down to this, that is a very important thing I want to learn more about. So I love it. And I'm excited about that. I want to dive into best practices that I formed in 2024 that I'm absolutely going to take into 2025. And I would encourage you to consider taking these best practices. If something stands out to you, take it and run with it. These have like really been impactful for me, and we'll get going. So first off, prepping the night before. So instead of getting up and having to get my coffee prepped before I press the start button or get out all my supplements that are timed specifically throughout the day in the morning, and then going and standing in my closet to figure out which workout outfit am I going to put on? What do I feel like today? No, I do all three of those things before bed. I even pick out my kid. Well, I can't pick out my 7-year old's outfits anymore. He does not let me. He hasn't for actually a few years, but I'll pick out my daughter's outfit the night before, like anything I can do so that in the morning I'm just ready to rock and roll. I don't have to think, basically. There's no thinking involved, everything's ready. That is a huge best practice that I am taking into 2025. Followed up with my quiet time. So every single morning, the first thing I do is I sit down, I do my daily devotional. I actually then piggyback that with reading time. So there is this thing called like the 10-page rule, where if you read 10 pages just every single day, you'll get through tons and tons of books. I don't necessarily put parameters like that on myself, but I'll kind of look ahead and be like, "Oh, I'll read to this next section." That might be 4 pages, it might be 14 pages. So it really varies, but I do read every day. I definitely take time to pray, and I take time to write 5 things down that I'm grateful for. And I literally say, I'm thankful for, and I start writing it out. And man, it just sets you up like no matter what is happening, you can have joy because it's not relied upon your circumstances. There is always a reason to feel that sense of gratitude. Okay, then I always do a daily training session, something. Now I pay a lot. I actually invest a lot to work with my specialty trainer. He's a strength coach. He's worked with NBA, NFL, MLB, and athletes. So I wanted the best. He's virtual. I use his app. I have to send him videos of what I'm doing. I put in my progress. I send him pictures. I tell him updates, like everything. We communicate consistently through his app. And that's just been really life changing for me. I feel like the stronger my body has gotten, actually, the stronger my mindset has gotten. So, strength training is a must. I do that specifically 4 days per week. The other day, I do mobility work and cardio. I actually do cardio almost every day. I get into zone 2 cardio. And then, of course, you all know, or maybe you don't, but I love yoga and make that a priority as well. All right. In addition to training, I set aside time for daily thinking. Now, because of my training schedule, and I do oftentimes walk as my zone 2 cardio, I'm really getting into the habit of walking and just thinking. Like if I put on music that's more like EDM ish, like techno y, and then I can get into that headspace, that zone of just thinking through things. And that has brought me a lot of clarity. It's calmed me down. It helps me put things into perspective so I'm not reacting emotionally to anything. And I'm really giving myself proper time to process, think about hard things that, allow space for the answers to come. That's been really, really incredible. Another thing I've done that I'm taking into 2025 is I've really honed in on who are my advocates in my life that I need around me so that I, as a leader, as a CEO, show up as the best version. And by the way, also as a follower of Jesus, who am I showing up in my community, around my family? Am I representing the kingdom? Am I representing love? Am I living that out? Am I showing up as the best wife that I possibly can, as the best mother? All of the roles that I play, I need people around me to help support me. And most of these are health related. So, well, all of them. Okay. So I have a PT. Now, this is so TMI, but after my daughter's birth, I really struggled with UTIs and I never had that issue in my life. And I'm like, what the heck? Like after her birth, they had to catheter me because I was retaining over a liter of urine, which is not safe. That's not great. And because of this new retention issue, I was getting UTIs and I couldn't figure it out. Long story short, I saw a specialist who says, you're very tight down there. And I joked with him, which is not Christian, and I said, "Oh, well, I hope so." And he was like, So that wasn't cool, but I found out that that's a thing. Like, some women go potty in their pants a little bit after giving birth. Not me. My situation's on lockdown. It's like, "Never again. We're never opening up." Like, it's crazy. So, I've had to get interesting styles of PT to help with that. And I, at one point, was so desperate because I had been put on, are you ready for this? 10 rounds of antibiotics over the course of 2 years. And it was killing my gut health. Gut health, by the way, is everything. My microbiome was destroyed and I needed to stop. It was finally my acupuncturist who said, you don't have to go on antibiotics, Katie. Your immune system's job is to kill infection. So unless you're immunocompromised, there are other things you can do that will kill that infection. Like your body will heal. So it was like an epiphany. Like, why would I keep doing this then? I'm just so thankful for this. So then I heard a podcast all about the miracle of Manuka honey. This is wild. Okay. So I'm like, Manuka honey. Manuka honey comes from trees in New Zealand. So it's much more expensive. You get a lot less for a lot more money. But I'm like, well, what do I have to lose? So I get it. I start taking a half a tablespoon 3 times a day, like medicine, instead of taking antibiotics. Cured my 11th UTI. I didn't have to take an antibiotic when I got my 11th one. I knew the signs. I got tested. They're like, "Yep, you have a UTI." I'm like, "I'm not going to do antibiotics." I did this honey. I have not complained or haven't had an issue since. Anytime I have this sense of symptoms coming on, like a UTI, I take this Manuka honey. It's like a part of my regular diet now. It is a miracle. I never knew. Now I know. Now you heard about it. You can dig deeper into it. Go down the path, learn all about it. It has been a life changer. But part of this path back to is me finding the right PT. And I found one that does visceral manipulation. It is not like any form of physical therapy that I've ever experienced. Again, it's called visceral manipulation, and she is also a miracle worker, and I see her now for everything. I see her for my bladder stuff that really is because of tight muscles around the pelvic floor everywhere, including the booty area. And then also if I'm like, oh my gosh, I hurt my knee, she'll fix me up. My shoulder, she'll fix me up. I love her. Of course, I have my strength coach that I told you about. He also, checks in with me on nutrition. I have a hormone specialist, y'all. Like, welcome to your 40s and actually probably 30s. You know how we kind of heard that young little kids are going into puberty so much earlier in life? Well, I feel like as adults, we're having hormonal stuff go down a lot earlier in life too. So I haven't gone through perimenopause or anything like that, but I have the lowest testosterone levels that my hormone specialist had ever seen in a woman. So I'm getting bioidentical testosterone pellets inserted in my upper butt cheek. It's like literally they cut a little thing open and, they numb you and do all the things and then they insert it and da da da. Life changing. My energy levels, and maybe you can hear it, are totally through the roof and I feel awesome. Testosterone, if you're female, you need it. You really need it to build muscle. It's not just for sex drive. Like there's so many things that you need it for. Um, I'm also on, the mother of all hormones is oxytocin. That's the little release you get when you give hugs to other people, the oxytocin, right? So I actually take bioidentical oxytocin lozenges I let melt under my tongue at nighttime. Um, that will improve also the sex drive. I'll just say that. I also work with a chiropractor. So important to get your central nervous system back in line and everything in alignment. And I also get monthly massages. Oh my gosh, we need that. We need to move the lymphatic system around. We need the body. Rolling out on a roller can be a little too hard sometimes. Like I've really learned, I thought harder was better and more impactful. That's not the case. So, anyway, finding my right people meant experiencing and trying a lot of people and then honing in on my power group. And they are there. They know my whole situation. They love and support me. I trust them. And I want that for you. If you have that for your life, it helps you show up and live in a bigger way and not have to worry about any ailments or any thorns in the spine as you go through all your days and all the goals that you have. Okay, and also taking this best practice. I got two more to go. The next best practice is same start and end times to my day. So I go to bed by 9. My friends joke like, "Oh, it's past 8 p.m. I know I can't get a hold of you, Katie." Well, my kids go to bed, I get ready and go to bed. There are times where I'm like, I got to go to bed now. Like my body is just so fatigued because I do train pretty hard and I get after it. So all day long, like there are just nights I got to go to bed. Your body needs rest. Rest is the number one. Sleep is the number one way to heal and recover the body. So I go to bed by 9 and I'm up now at 4:30. Now this is a new change. I really can't say how great this is. Like I used to get up around 5:30 to 6 a.m. and it is easier for me to get up. I don't know if it's the hormones, but it is easier for me to get up at 4:30 and I just have this whole morning. I get to the gym a lot earlier. I'm starting now my day and getting work done a lot earlier. And I get it. I get why people love this. I get why there are entrepreneurs out there who are like, I start my day at 4. I don't know about 4, but I get it. I love it. And I just can't. So whether you're a morning person or a night person, really, it's more the consistency of going to bed at the same time and getting up at the same time that makes the most impact. And starting and stop times also applies to my batch scheduling. So maybe in high school, you grew up with block scheduling. So every day you had 4 classes instead of the traditional 45-minute classes, and you had like 7 classes a day. Well, block scheduling or batch scheduling takes your days and you do specific activities during specific time frames on specific days, which helps you create boundaries. Something new I've literally started to do is put my phone on do not disturb. Any little twang, little bell or whistle or any little vibration, I used to just look down. I would constantly look, oh, what's going on? What's going on? Even if I ignored it and said, oh, I don't have time for that right now, taking the time to even look really threw me off. And it's throwing all of us off. And time is a major, major area that we can all improve upon. I feel like I still need to figure it out. I still need to work on my priorities and how to really create the best batch scheduling. But I've got a pretty good framework started, and I'm going to take that into 2025. And lastly, like what I put into my body, the food I eat, what I don't put in. So some of you have heard in the past that I quit drinking alcohol. This was 2022 that I just decided like who I want to be now that I'm in my 40s. And I was like, hopefully I've lived half my life. You don't know. I could have lived more than half my life at this point. And I want to decide, can I be somebody who just doesn't drink, and is that fine? And the answer is yeah, it is. And actually, my life is better than ever. I don't miss it. I have other things I drink like kombucha and coffee and like, I don't know. It's just been awesome. Lemon water, electrolyte water. Like I'm plenty uh, satisfied in some of the good things that I put in my body, and I don't need that. Um, so I got rid of that, but what do put in it? Well, I put 130 grams of protein every day. You might hear that and think that's crazy. I've just never been this lean and strong in my life. If you had been following the Beyond the Technique brand or Maya or any of my journey, you will have seen that I used to be very obese, a plus size woman. And you know what? I see you. If you are plus size, like you're beautiful, you're awesome, and I believe in you, and I'll never ignore you. I feel like it's interesting the different ways I'm treated now compared to when I was obese. Whether we think that's fair or not, it's happening. But I vow to always love and support everybody, no matter what they look like, no matter what their size is, because I know what it feels like for the majority of my life to feel like I'm trapped inside this body that doesn't feel like it's actually me, but this is my habitat. And I was desperate. I would do anything to change that. I needed help, and I did. And gosh, I don't know. It's like a trigger. I turned 40. I got on the scale at my daughter's birth and saw a number I never thought I'd see before. And there's something about knowing you're done with having kids as well, that it just was that was this moment, this breakthrough where I was like, this is it. And I'm not gonna F with this opportunity. I am going to make the next years of my life the best years of my life. So I'll just say this. I prioritize protein. I intermittently fast. I drink tons of water. I do not have alcohol. And I have only had in the entire year of 2024 three cheat meals, two of which were steak dinners with where I had like the bread. One of them was a birthday for a team member, and I had charcuterie, so just mixture of things on the charcuterie board. Most of you would say those aren't cheats. To me, it was gearing away from my ultra clean nutritional lifestyle. When I am the one that shows up now as a total weirdo to Thanksgiving, Christmas, birthdays, travel. Even if I'm at an event for our industry, I will go to Whole Foods after I check into the hotel or the Airbnb, wherever I am. I go to the Whole Foods, I get all my things that I know I need, and that's it. I will step away. I don't say yes to dinners. If I do go to dinner, I don't eat. There are certain places, if I pre-plan, I'll have the salmon, but I'm looking at every little thing. I'm putting it in, I'm tracking it. So it's not like you hear like, oh, measure everything, right? We look at you master what you measure. And I wanted to master this area of my life because they say like, oh, just the 80-20 rule with nutrition. But no, it is like if you have big goals of releasing massive amounts of extra weight off your body, which is where I was at, there is no 80-20 rule. I followed that for too long and it didn't work. I had to be 99% perfect. And I wanted it because once you taste what it feels like to enter into a whole new version of yourself, there is nothing that seems that great that can pull you out of that. Like that donut does not taste as good as my life feels right now. And that doesn't even tempt me. My kids have treats all the time. There's things in our house all the time, pizza, whatever it is. It doesn't even phase me. Where in the past, it would be such a temptation. Like ice cream used to be one of my biggest gateway drugs down the sugar hole, where I would just binge on sugary things because ice cream was a gateway for me, literally a gateway drug, and sugar is a drug. So guess what I do? I just don't have ice cream. I don't even have other versions of ice cream. I don't need the sugar. If I'm having carbs, I'm having fresh fruit or sweet potato, plain, because that freaking sweet potato tastes awesome without even anything else on it. Though I will put some raw pistachios on that bad boy, and that tastes like heaven. So there you go. All of these things I'm taking in to 2025. Okay, I know this is a long one, but stick with me because I'm going to talk about salon wins and what we're doing new, our major objectives for 2025. So, for most of you, you know me as the founder of Maya. Maya is the ultimate digital marketing platform to recruit and keep new clients, really building the dream clientele for your stylist. We've driven over 25 million now dollars to our partners. My mission by the end of 2025 is to make that 50 million. Where did this all begin for me? Salon ownership. To this day, I own 3 salon locations. One of them is a nail salon and 2 are hair salons. Collectively, they do over 2 million in revenue. And what's kind of powerful and what I really enjoy helping owners figure out through the power of marketing really is I don't work in the businesses. I work with my leaders who I trust and equip and compensate beautifully to run the show, to be the ones to lead operations and lead others. And by developing them up, I'm helping them achieve their dreams. And this is what we do. We help others be successful, and that's where we find our success. So, with Be Inspired Salon specifically, in one of our success moments of 2024, we cut $4,000 in monthly expenses. I cannot take the credit for this. I say to my GM who oversees 2 locations, and I say, look, I need creative areas for you to look at where we can make cuts because I haven't really paid attention to our numbers. I've got a lot going on. Can you take a look? So she looks at the P&L and really siphoned through everything. She figured out every single area that we could cut. Here's my lesson. What we ignore might be killing us. So if you don't have the time, you got to find people who have the time for you and allow them and trust them to help you. And my action kind of lesson is to take a day or half day, include your top level leaders to go through your numbers to see where there are opportunities. Here's my rule for cutting expenses. I never cut anything that helps us get and keep clients, and I never cut anything that helps us get and keep team members. Now, the things I'm spending money on to help me get team members and clients, I make sure we have that 5 times return. So that's kind of the rule is you want to get a times 5 return on your investment for anything marketing, advertising related. So that would be like for every dollar you spend on this, you want to get $5 back. It's very simple. You don't need to overanalyze it. But there are a lot of things that you have on your P&L that are not tied to helping you get and keep clients or get and keep team members. So when we look through that, we made some really cool decisions. Even just by focusing in and working together, one of our locations had the best revenue week of the entire year, the week that we looked at this. And one of my dear friends in the industry said, raindrops make an ocean. And it's true. Raindrops make an ocean. So little cuts are going to add up in a really big way over time. The next big thing that we did in 2024 is we finally, I know some of you are going to be like, I did this forever ago. We finally separated parts from labor, but here's the holdup. Our salon always promised all-inclusive color pricing. We really, like, our identity was tied to this marketing. Like, people knew that when they came in for their advanced color, it was going to be this amount with this person, period. And how are we going to continue to promise that if every time they came in, we were saying, hey, here's how much it cost for your service. And then here's today's cost on product use. And every time they came, that would be different now. Like, no, how do we figure this out? So my friend Nina Tullio has amazing resources on her website. I will put in the show notes. And one of them was helping us figure out what is our price per minute on every single service. And lo and behold, we found out our top money financial per minute service was our specialty curly haircuts. Our worst was our all over color. And we were like, well, we need to get this in line. So we did a price change throughout the board, just making sure that at a baseline, we had proper pricing for everybody. But we really wanted to figure out then what's our cost on all of our back bar. So one of our managers is so smart with numbers and spreadsheets, and she did the math. She figured out like, okay, down to the ounce or milliliter of color, here's what that costs us. Down to the foil, down to the glove. And then we got a bigger group together, said, okay, how much are y'all mixing up for this? Like, if you did an all over color, literally, what's the most you could ever mix up? What's the most you would use in the amount of foils for an advance? How many of this and that? And we then created a price line with a 30% margin added to it. And so, for example, we know that no matter which stylist you see, if you get an all over color, your product charge is going to be $18, I believe it is as of today. And that went up to $76 in a product charge. And I think that's for transformation. Any chemical service. We figured this out for our perms and for our Brazilian blowouts. And we do the curl cult perm. So we figured out for every chemical service what is going to be the product charge. This saved our butts on model calls too. So my next thing I'll bring up is we brought on 8 stylists to our salon team because we had opened up a new location last year. 7 out of the 8 are already behind the chair. And one of the things that we do to really ramp our team up and get them very good very quickly is we do model calls, but our clients pay for the product charge. So we're not losing our rear ends every time we bring somebody in to be a color model or a perm model or a Brazilian blowout, or at least minimally covering the cost. Now, every time you do an increase like this, right? Like the client is going to pay more. So like all the prices were revised, plus we added the product charge, but we could still promise all inclusive pricing. Does that make sense to everybody? I hope it does. Okay. But how do we make sure that even though our clients are spending more, our stylists are still making the same on commission? Nothing really changed much with them, but we always say, how do we add more value to their visit? That's always the question to ask. Okay, if we're going to do this, how are we going to make it more of a valuable experience to the clients? Some of you already do this, but we hadn't. Like, we were already doing hand massages, scalp massages, aromatherapy spray. For barbering haircuts, we do a steamed towel wrap. So all of this was already happening. What more could we possibly think of to do? And then we created kind of our beverage snack bar areas where we would always normally serve coffee, tea, water, wine, and bourbon. Pretty cool still. But we'd always get these requests for Diet Coke. What is with Diet Coke in this world? It's so funny to me. There's aspartame in it. I wouldn't recommend it, but whatever. People love their Diet Coke. And we're like, well, let's just put some freaking Diet Coke. So we're now offering different options for beverages, like new options. And we have new snack bar area where they can have pretzels or popcorn or, granola bars or chocolate. Like, we have a whole little thing. And by the way, I give each location, we agreed on this. So it wasn't just my decision. We agreed that each location would get a certain dollar amount every month to go to Costco and get the things that we normally get. And when we run out of the things, we don't replenish till the next month. That helps keep your budget in line when you go to execute something like this. So those were the biggest game changers in 2024. What we are going to be doing for 2025, and this is where we're about to wrap it up, so bear with me. The top 2 focuses, and less is more. Like, sometimes we're just exhausted by how much we try to pull off. We really scaled it back. We only chose 1 management level objective and 1 team, like, stylist focus. So, okay, here's the things we're going to do. Most of you have developed a growth plan or path for your stylist, correct? So if I'm a new stylist at your salon, I would see that at a level 1, here's where I start. Here's the way I can grow. Here's what I need to do to grow in this area. Here's my earning potential. Yes, I see that all laid out at the very beginning, right? Right. But we haven't done this for our hourly team members. So, what about your bridal coordinator or your marketing professional? What about your guest services team or your location managers or your education trainers, your director of education? I've heard feedback behind the scenes from owners saying, gosh, my educators, they're just getting burnt out. Well, what do they have to look forward to? So our number one mission for 2025 is to create a path for growth for our every single hourly team member. If you play a role at our salon that's tied to hourly compensation, we're going to have a growth path for you. One of the things we already did was announce to our education trainers that we're sending them to the Goldwell Academy in New York City, and we're covering the entire cost of their class ticket. They're pretty freaking excited because there's 3 of them total. And it's going to be an awesome way to show them we care and for them to have a new sense of creativity, get their, fires lit up. Like, I'm so excited for them. The second major focus for Be Inspired Salon in 2025 is equipping our stylists to be successful on social media. So in Q4, the PBA had their executive summit that I attended, and they brought up what their survey had revealed about what stylists believe. And they believe that the number one way to grow their clientele is through social media. Personally, like if I'm a stylist and I have anything to do with growing my own clientele, I'm going to need to do it through social media. So that actually might be very true. What are we doing to help them with that? How do we make this a collaborative effort? How can we equip them? So we are offering their kickoff event of the year is a social media content creation class. Like, this is a 2-hour, let me show you, open up your phones, get out this app. Here's what we do. And then they're actually going to create content together. And we're tying that with post like expectations. And by the way, they're all voting on it. They're going to vote what they believe our team as an entire team should be having to do for our individual posts every single week. And we're going to hold them to that. We're also going to reward people who live up to it. And we're talking through like what happens if they don't live up to it. And so all of those things we're going to be working on creating, developing, and launching to our team at the salon in 2025. Wow, this was a lot. Well, we got a lot coming up in 2025. All good things, but we got to stay focused, right? So I hope today's podcast episode was super fun for you. I talked about myself the whole time, but I hope that it can really be relatable for you and tie into, gosh, that's a good idea. Wow, I didn't know that. Ooh, I want to try that. Like, I hope this inspired you and motivated you. And I hope that you have an amazing Christmas, New Year's, and everybody, I look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, have an awesome day and stay strong.